Good evening, everybody out there in Chester County and on my Facebook page. Coming to you straight live from my kitchen and City Town Talk is none other than me, Brother Fonz, and it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I must admit, I'm rather excited to have this young lady here with us this evening. So, before we get started, all my viewers, y'all know what to do. We're going to need you to check out this video and then hit share and tag me on it because we want to get our viewers up and running. So in case they have any comments or anything like that. So y'all know what to do. Hopefully, let me see. Bam. Uh-huh. Yeah, this is going to get crazy. Bam. Let me see. Oh, we got hey, Khalid, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. We got one of these going already, and that's a good thing. Because Kai, when people have questions or they want to talk about you like a dog or something like that, we good on both of them. Look, we are so good. We are so good right now. Look, before we get started, there's a couple of announcements that I gotta make. Number one, we are trying to have a citywide voters registration drive. Okay, Miss Arvilla Hunt, our city council lady, and one of the people who are involved with Women Destined for Change. So I have to remember these names. Women Destined for Change. We are trying to put together a conglomeration of organizations, groups, people, and all that kind of stuff. So we got Women Destined for Change. We got Movement Community Development Corporation. We got Coatesville Rock the Vote campaign team. And I'm going to throw in Ebenezer Baptist Church, even though they didn't say I could do that. I'm going to throw them under the bus. Because, no, I think they were hanging out with Miss Arvilla with the clothing drive and all that kind of stuff. So look, we're going to get something together. If you're interested in being part of this drive, in the comments section, leave your email address because I'm going to send out Zoom invites immediately following this show. And we're going to get the show on the road. Because unless you are sleeping under a rock, you know this is the most important election like ever. Just ever. So do that. Leave that in the comments section. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Miss Chaya Scott. So, Kai, would you say a few things to the viewers out there?
Hi, I'm glad to be here. It's nice to have an opportunity to be able to connect, and I'm excited to share a little bit of information about the census and hopefully get everybody excited, if you haven't done it already, to take it. But we'll talk about the importance of it and why it matters.
Exactly. So now first, I want to tell y'all a little bit something about Kai. Now, I know Kai for a few years now, and she has been a mover and a shaker and an organizer, and she's got to have like the most organized brain I've ever met because she used to be in charge of CYI, and she's done so much stuff, but I ain't even going to talk about that right now. I'm just talking about some of her education and training credentials so we can all be impressed. Now, check this out. She has an MA in organizational leadership, sum cum laude, Immaculata University. She has a BA in public relations, magna cum laude, Temple University. That's a whole lot of laudes. Oh, laude. That ain't right. I had to put that one in there. Certificates in nonprofit fundraising and nonprofit management, LaSalle University. The Institute for Nonprofit Excellence Workshop, PANO Standards for Excellence Certificate in Leadership from NTL Leaders of Color Initiative, graduate of the too many initials at Bryn Mawr College, nonprofit Executive Leadership Institute, Certificate of Completion, Temple University Strength-Based Leadership Program. I'm telling you, I feel smarter just saying the stuff that she's done. So, ladies and gentlemen, she's earned the right to be on this show just based on the stuff that she's done and what she's doing. Now, look, before she tells us all about the stuff she's doing, I think we all need to know just a little bit about her, don't y'all? Yeah, we do. Okay, so here we go. Now, I have some prepared questions. So I made a mistake and asked her this question before she came on the show, but I'm going to ask her again and play like I didn't do it. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. I started to say today was a rough day because I found out that the Trump administration had upped the deadline for the census. So that gives us a month less of time for us to get people signed up. So I today felt like I spent most of the time just trying to strategize and figure out how to make this relevant for people.
It just so it just so happened I sent Kaya the article, I guess about 5 o'clock this morning. Brother Foz need to learn how to sleep, man, and do some stuff like that. Well, I'll tell you. Hey, look, Kaya, are you originally from Coatesville?
I'm actually not. I'm from Westchester, but growing up, I spent a lot of time in Coatesville. My grandparents went to Passtown Baptist, so we were there for vacation Bible school all the time. And I went to Upper Bound, ran track, played basketball. And so I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of the people now who I get a chance to serve alongside. So it's interesting how everything comes full circle.
That's cool. Cool. Me. Okay, wait a minute. Checking in. Oh, here goes somebody that says, I love me some Kaya. Okay, Lay, Hammond, Craig, I sent her the message. We all know that you love her. And Samaria Turner. Oh, that's your girl.
That's my girl.
That's your girl. Y'all go back like car seats.
Best neighbor ever.
Okay. And we got Adam Cerrucci coming out of the senator's office. And it's good to see y'all. Don't forget, any comments or any questions, feel free to put it in the comment section. Now look, with all this stuff that you've done, now I've read this. You're the most efficient person that's ever done this too. I just love it. And you did it in like 2 minutes after you said you'd come on. In school, what did you aspire to do? Did you aspire to do all this, or did you want to be like a plumber or something like that?
No, I actually grew up. So in Westchester, my family has a background in community organizing and establishing systems. And my grandfather helped to institute the ward system in Westchester to make sure that minorities had equal representation on borough council. So I was 6 protesting, and my aunt ran the NAACP for 11 years and was president. And so it's in my DNA and blood to step up and to speak for the people who don't necessarily have seats at the table or the opportunity to voice their opinions and concerns. But I wanted to actually be a pediatrician and help children. Okay. And I had a guidance counselor who basically said that I wasn't smart enough, and that my math and science grades weren't good enough. And she basically said, pick another career. And I think that was the first time where I was kind of like, okay, I recognize I need to pick my own dream team. And I asked and requested for a different guidance counselor, and decided that I needed to spend some more time making sure that young people didn't have that same experience. And so my path went to, how do I serve young people, create a path for them to become leaders and to have their purpose be realized? And that's been my career.
Wow, you're amazing. But wait a minute, I never want to forget to acknowledge the viewers, because they all have. Asia Hines checked in. I know these are all your people. Asia Hines checked in. Roberta Steyer Showell is watching. She said, hi, Kaya. Dr. Powell, we just spent a little time last night getting her award.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and she earned it. She earned it. Oh, man, I am so excited. You think I'm sitting in here with Michael Jordan or somebody?
Nah, not at all. Okay. Just a servant. Yeah. Just a servant.
What were some of your favorite subjects in school?
History. Definitely public speaking. Can you hear my puppy barking in the background?
Yeah, is your puppy right there with you?
No, I put him in a cage because I think he wants to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but he's okay. He's part of the family.
Distracting.
Man.
But yeah, history, public speaking, anything that gave me a chance to learn how to serve well.
Were you a leader in school? Did you take on projects and did the organization while you was in high school?
I was. I helped to start a youth chapter of the NAACP. Taj Brown was instrumental in helping us do that. So we were 12 and 13 out there, trying to make things happen in Westchester and traveling through the state and the region, making sure that young people had a voice at the NAACP. And then I was president of the Black Student Union in high school, student school board rep, and part of the multicultural task force, just to make sure that people of color had a voice in the Westchester School District, because there were so few of us that often we got left out and left behind in a lot of the conversations and how resources were allocated.
Wow. That's exciting. I know in my past, whenever I talked to you, you could tell too, you're so organized, oriented. And you used to always kind of like say, Fonzwell, now you got to kind of like do this because I'm more emotional and I'm rah-rah. But you would bring me right back down to earth and you would get into the organizational type mode. And I appreciate you for that. But okay, now we know that you got a dog, but do you have any kids?
How do you put them two in the same sentence?
Well, what?
Yes, I do. I actually have a daughter, Ayan, who is 18. She actually just graduated this year, class of 2020 from Coatesville Senior High. And I have a son, Aman, who is 17, and he will be a senior this year at Cash. And then I have a host of babies who I did not birth, but they are my kids in spirit, and they will always be my kids, my CYI crew. And I also treat and care for them and make sure that they have the support they need.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, look, Nelson Ojeda just checked in. Nelson, this is for you. Later on, we're going to be talking about the census, and the census is very important in regards to the Latino community, immigrant community. She's going to talk about this more. And Nelson, you need to listen to this and take it to people that maybe we can't take it to, because the census is like, next to voting, is like the most important doggone thing that's happening. And we're going to talk more about that in a couple of minutes. So Nelson, don't you go nowhere. And I always appreciate your viewership. Now, let's talk about CYI. How did this thing come about? How did you get to be on top of that and just make it be what it is or was or whatever?
It's God, like truly. My entire career has not been anything that I have designed, planned, thought about, laid out, none of it. It was a matter of just being placed in conversations and spaces and places that I had no idea why I was there. And then you start to see what his vision really is. But I was working in Phoenixville at the time, running a nonprofit there, and got a random phone call from Frances Sheehan, who was then president and CEO of the Brandywine Health Foundation. And she said, I know you don't know me, but I'm calling you because I hear you live in Coatesville, but you're driving 45 minutes to Phoenixville, and I'd like to meet you and figure out why. And then I found out that I guess Regina Horton and Harry Lewis were kind of behind the scenes, and the board of the Brandywine Health Foundation had this idea to do a youth initiative, but they wanted to do some planning first. And I went to lunch at Willie's with them, and the rest was history. I actually joined a committee that they had started. I think I got there at the second meeting, and they had a bunch of youth serving agencies around the table talking about what's possible for young people in the school district. And I joined, and then they hired my consulting firm. And for a year, I spent time building relationships with people, getting to know people, and figuring out how we wanted to serve young people in this district. And the rest is history. 10 years I was serving there as the executive director, and it was an amazing ride.
And you were hired as the executive director, or did you have to move up in the organization?
No, I actually came in as director of the initiative once we got through the planning process. I was the first employee, had the pleasure of hiring Jarvis, who is now the interim executive director for the Coastal Youth Initiative. So shout out to Jarvis. Support him, support the staff who are there. And he and I actually then hired the rest of the staff, did all the planning in concert with more than 40 agencies and organizations throughout our community who also joined our steering committee and helped design the mission and the vision and all the initiatives and the things that are still going on today, like Service Corps. It was a pleasure, and it would not have happened if it wasn't for the young people that stepped up and played a role to help make that organization be successful, if it wasn't for all the community partners who decided that it was more important for us to bring our time and talents and treasures together to make sure that young people in the district had a chance to be leaders. And it was a group effort. The board was incredible. They were people who lived, worked, played, prayed in Coatesville community, loved the community, and wanted to lend their talents. So it was a collective effort, and I believe it was something that was incredibly ordained because we would not have been able to do what we accomplished as an organization. People counted us out from the beginning, and every single year for 10 years, they counted us out and said people in Coatesville can't work together, and we did everything to prove them wrong, and I think we did that.
Well, one of your partners in crime just checked in. I don't know if you can guess who it is, but ain't nobody but that Luli or Barry.
Oh.
Luli, you know I miss you, right? I mean, I used to come down there and we used to talk forever. It is so good.
Oh, yes. Our first drug-free communities coordinator. Yes, yes, yes.
All right, Lily, stop playing. Get off the phone. Okay, we're going to acknowledge Puerto Rico. It's good to see you. Uriah Cole is checked in. Daria Turner. That
proud board member of the Youth Initiative.
Yes. Uriah Cole checked in. Oh, Luli just sent you 5 hearts. Go on, Luli, because ain't nobody going to be crying on here with all them hearts and all that stuff, all right? Okay. Cass Rowland said, thank you so much for your service to our community.
Oh.
Kathy Smith checked in. She said, awesome. Luli said she misses us, but then why don't you come back then?
Oh, yeah, she'll come back. She's busy.
That's all right.
Shaking in her career.
I'm just so happy for all of y'all. Now, let me see, where was I at? Because you know what I like about you? I can have like 5 questions, and I ask you one, and you answer all 5 of them, and I don't even have to ask.
Oh, no.
No, man, that's good. That means we chatting now. I'm messing up my tape here. I mean, people may want to hire me, and they say, no, he acts too crazy. Okay, now, let's talk about your consultant. Now, we're going to run through this because, oh, here go Ella. She done checked in. Ella Vetter. You know, me and Ella, we're doing something with this rock.
I saw that. Rock the vote.
Yeah. She's got a good brain. I will campaign for her when she decides to run for office. I know that's
right. I know that's right.
She wants an old person. Okay, let's talk about your consulting firm now. I didn't know you had a consulting firm while you were at Coatesville Youth Initiative, but I just heard you mention it. So is this the same consulting firm? Let's talk about this.
It is. So I've always kind of consulted on and off. I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids, and I'm responsible for making sure the lights stay on and that we have food in our refrigerator. And my first job out of college, I actually got laid off. I worked for the Chester County Boy Scouts, and I thought everything was fine. And 2 years were good. And they called me into the office and said, you got a week, we're eliminating your position. And from that point on, I was like, nobody else is going to decide when I eat, when my kids eat, or when the lights are on. So I started doing consulting on the side. And I always kind of like stopped and started it over the years. So while I was at CYI, I didn't consult as much as I wasn't full-time. I wasn't working for clients. I focused my energies on CYI. But I've always like taught on the side, nonprofit management, or provided peer support for executive directors. And when I left CYI, I decided to go full-time into my firm. And so I work with mission-based and for-profit companies, helping them to build sustainable business models and think strategically and design an organizational system that works well for them so that they serve their community well and make sure that their employees are happy and productive.
But now, when the word got out that you was leaving Coatesville Youth Initiative, it was like a funeral was jumping off in this.
No.
You can't say no. This is my dime. It felt like a funeral, man. People's like, just all over the city, and it's like, wow. So let me ask you a question. If it's not too personal, what made you decide to leave it completely and delve into your dream or your mission full time?
I think it was a combination of things, but one of the things I always said to my staff and to our volunteers is I never want to stay longer than what I've been allowed. And I just started getting these feelings like it was time for me to make some transitions and shift. And at the same time, I was having some family things that were going on that needed my time and my attention. And I just figured it was all kind of happening for a reason to move me to the place where I had to shift. But I feel like, every 5 years, no matter what career you're in, you should just kind of stop for a second and pause and take stock and figure out, are your gifts still the best for the organization that you're serving in? And sometimes like, it's hard to say, maybe not, like maybe the organization has outgrown your gifts or you've outgrown it. And it's time for somebody else to be a blessing to the organization. And Jarvis being in that seat is the best that could happen right now for the Coatesville Youth Initiative. And even though I have not been there for a year, I still check in with the staff that are there. I meet with Jarvis regularly. I still volunteer when I can. Still helping with the book bag drive, which is a partnership between 11, community-based organizations with CYI and the Bridge Academy anchoring it. So I'm still doing all of those things. Like I still visit my CYI kids. I still make sure I check in with the partner agencies. I still live 3 blocks from the office. Like I have not left, I haven't gone anywhere. And that was the message I wanted to make sure that people knew. Like my care and concern and love for Coatesville wasn't because of a paycheck. It was because I live here, because I've been a resident here for the last 18, 19 years, and I'm not going anywhere. I love this community. I love the work that can happen here and the spirit here. So just because I'm not sitting in that seat anymore doesn't mean that I'm not still committed.
I'm just listening to you, and for some reason, this book popped into my head called Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese? Hey, good evening, Dion Brown Hogarth, whose sister is a doctor, and she will be on Thursday. I'm so excited. I'm acting like they are celebrities to me. I mean, I think people in Coatesville is just, when I think about them being on the other side of this computer, telling their stories and pouring out their passion and heart, I feel like I'm meeting superstars. And don't nobody try to take that from me either. So don't be trying to knock my feelings about these people that's on these shows. So Dion, good evening. Bernadette Runner, good evening. Remember, if you want to be part of the citywide voters registration drive, leave your email address in the comment section and I will connect with you with the Zoom invite for tomorrow evening. Now, let me ask you, what challenges have you had to undertake? What's some of the biggest obstacles, like with your own business?
I think it's always tough because I prefer, you probably will not believe this, but I prefer to be behind the scenes. I'm not the type to be tooting my own horn. Unless you ask, I won't ever really tell you what I've done, where I've been, or what my experience is. That's just not who I am. But I've had to learn to position myself in a way that allows people to feel like my skills, what I've done up to this point, are relevant and transferable and would be of value to an organization that's willing to pay for the services that I provide.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you looked at her resume and you need somebody to help you do some stuff, organize some stuff, do some strategic planning and thinking, you need to grab her up. Now, don't make me have to put this on my Facebook page because I will.
You are very kind. Do not put my resume out there on your Facebook page.
All right, I ain't going to do it. But what I'm saying is we are supposed to utilize the gifts and the talents that we have in our community first.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's a gift and here's some talent sitting right next to me. So that's all I got to say about that. Now I sound like Forrest Gump. But that's besides the point. Now let me see, what's my next question? What part does faith play in your journey to this point?
It's everything. The vision for CYI was something that I had written in a journal. Not that I knew it was called CYI, but I had written in a journal when I was in college. Like, the path that's been laid for me has been something, again, that has been preordained, that I've tried to just be a good steward of, to walk through, to give God the glory for every single thing that he's done, every door he's opened, and even the ones that he's closed, because I know it's intentional. And up to this point, I mean, through COVID and everything, I was having an incredible year for my business. And I think I was fine until probably like June or July. And then all of a sudden it was like things got a little tough. But the light stayed on and the refrigerator stayed full and everybody stayed healthy. And I can't do anything but give him the glory for that. So he just keeps sending blessings and he keeps sending people. When I feel like I'm having moments where I'm struggling, it's like you get the right phone call at the right time and they're sharing the right message. And so I know that I know in every fiber of my being that his favor is is abound. It is moving this thing along, and I just have to trust him, and I have to keep walking, and I got to be a good steward of every opportunity he's given, no matter how small or simple or seen or unseen it is.
And there's a common thread going on because everybody that I've had on here, when I mentioned the faith question,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's deep, man.
Yeah, it
What
is.
God can do is deep. I'm not going to get into it because I'll start tearing up and stuff. So I'm just keep it moving. Now, because the big thing that we're going to talk about is the census. Now, because we really want to get in. But let's talk about your community involvement. Off the top of your head, can you tell us some of your involvement in the community?
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of serving on the board of directors for the Bridge Academy and Community Center, on the board for Black Women of Chester County, for the Second Century Alliance, and I serve on a few scholarship committees throughout the county, and some here in this immediate area. And I just have a couple of advisory committees that I'm on at Westchester University, in the department that I teach in. So I try to at least just make sure that I'm in spaces and places that if there are conversations that people of color need to be a part of or have, or information that we need to gather, that I'm able to be in those spots so I can take people's perspectives and ideas and thoughts and feedback and make sure that it's heard, because we're not always at the tables where we need to be and participating in the conversations that need to be had.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All my viewers, I hope y'all have filled out your census papers. Uh, in the comment section, you can say yay or nay, because if you say nay, I'm gonna get back with you after the show is over because we need to get these census papers
Yes, yes,
now.
yes.
So let's turn this to this part of the show here. I'm going to ask the questions,
Hmm.
and Kai's going to give us answers. Why does being counted matter?
So let me back up for a second. So hopefully everybody knows what the census is, but it is a survey that's done every 10 years by our federal government. And it tells the government basically who we are. So our race, ethnicity, age, demographics, all that kind of stuff, where we live. So the area, types of apartment, house, etc. And then what we need, what kind of services, healthcare, food, it could be anything that are needed in the community. And so without having our populations counted, there's no way the federal government will know how much resources to send to a community. Our census numbers also dictate our fair and political representation. So specifically, how many people we have at the state and the Senate, those are all determined by population. So it is incredibly important that we make sure that everybody gets counted, because if you're not counted, you're not visible. And if you're not visible, you're not part of the narrative, which means that no resources are coming to support the community.
Okay, there seems to be a little tabulation in the formula where it says, what is the information used for? So you kind of like answered that, but it says each person counted brings X amount of dollars. Can you
Yes.
extrapolate on that?
So in our county specifically, the number that actually comes up is for every single person, and that includes children that are counted, there is $2,093 per person per year that gets allocated to the municipality that you live in. So basically, in Chester County, well, let's say for the city of Coatesville, there are about 15,000 estimated people who live in our 1.9 square miles. Last year for the census, only 45-ish% of those individuals completed the census. So you think, that's $20,000 because it counts for every year for 10 years, each person. And I did the math this year. If that happens again, that means there's about 6,700 people that won't be counted, which is $14 million a year that we are missing out on in our municipality. So not Coatesville specific, but for our county, all of those numbers end up rolling up, and Coatesville gets a portion of those resources. So it's important that we pay attention. I appreciate that people have been, excited and protesting and on First Avenue and have organized. But at the end of the day, when you hang your poster up, it's still going to be somebody in the office who was making decisions on your behalf, whether you complete the census or not, whether you vote or not. And so it's incredibly important that we exercise our voices and our civic engagement and make sure that we show up in the narrative and we show up in the numbers.
Like my pastor says, protest without getting involved in the process is pointless.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fill some stuff out and stop playing.
It's 9 questions. This year they've streamlined the survey. It's 9 questions. You can do it on the phone. You can do it online. And pretty soon people will be actually, if you have not responded, they're going to be coming into this community and knocking on doors and checking in with you to actually do the survey with you. So if you don't want anybody coming to your house, I suggest you fill that census form out. Go to 2020census.gov. Again, 2020census.gov, and make sure that you are included and counted, and counting every single person that lives in your house.
And I will be putting that on my page, 2020census.gov. You said, Chaya?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's talk about them cutting it short this year.
Yes. So our incredible current administration has figured out every way possible to use the system, which we need to be actively fighting, to make sure that people of color, renters, immigrants, the Latino population, African Americans, senior citizens, that we don't get counted. So they decreased the funding before the census started. So outreach and marketing couldn't happen in the same way. They started to fool around with the post office, so they made it more difficult for information to go out. They changed the rules for making sure that surveys, census surveys, not go to PO boxes. And we have a lot of people in South Coatesville and Modena that impacted. Then they also reduced, now started to fool around with the citizenship questions, and we had to go to court in order for that to happen before the survey was released. And now the census was supposed to have a deadline of October 31st, and that's been moved to September 30th. So we've lost an entire month to do outreach, to have people out in communities, knocking on doors, sharing information, and making sure that you get counted. They're banking on the fact that we are too busy and too concerned and confused by COVID, that we won't care about this. And this will impact our community for the next 10 years.
And if I want to add on to that, I know a lot of us want to start our own businesses, and we're busy working and things of this nature. This is a part of building up the community as well. It's not just building up individual wealth. It's about building up wealth for a whole community, because a rising tide lifts all boats. So
absolutely,
y'all just take time to get off from playing them boards, and them games, and fill out that survey. Okay, what else do we got here? Okay, we already answered did we answer what questions are on the survey?
Yeah, I can say them again.
No, that's okay, because I want to make sure I get all I can get out you. Now it says, how do I complete the census questionnaire?
Yeah, so you can go online to 2020census.gov. There's a phone number that you can call. That phone number, no matter what your language is, you'll have an opportunity to speak with someone who understands your language and will be able to take your information. Fonz, and if you wouldn't mind, we could share that phone number too. That'd be great, like in the chat or something.
Okay, I got you.
And then I just wanted to say too, even the questions are simple, but the information is also protected and safe. I know that's a question that continues to come up about the privacy of the information and who has access to it, what other federal agencies have access to it. That's not a concern for the census. It is constitutionally protected. So your information is not going anywhere to any other agencies and organizations.
So now for the people that threw out their census forms, like a lot of times I throw out stuff, I didn't throw that out, but I mean, so for those who threw it out, can you just talk to them and give them some encouragement?
Yeah, if you did, you can just go online. the reason why they ask questions about your address, about your date of birth, et cetera, and your phone number is to make sure that there's not a duplication and you being counted more than once. So again, going to the website, calling the census phone number, I can give you that. It's 1-800-923-8282. Again, 1-800-923-8282. And they will make sure that you get everything that you need so that you can complete the census. They're pretty much open 7 days a week, from 7-ish to 7. So you have plenty of time, even if you're working late, like call.
Good evening, Joy Barucci. It is good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, does everyone in the household have to fill out a census form?
So whoever is the head of the household will fill it out for everyone. And it will ask you, how many people live in the house, the ages of those individuals that live in the house, their ethnicity and their race, their date of birth. And then it'll ask, like, what kind of domicile are you in? Is it an apartment or a house, and how long you've lived there? But one person should fill it out for everyone.
Okay, good. Okay, should a parent or should a grandparent count the grandkids who stay with them sometimes, or the foster kids?
Yeah, so at the point that you are doing the survey, you use the information that is at your fingertips or who is in your house at that very moment that you are completing the survey.
Good. So, all right. So now, what do you do if the kids only live with you part-time?
It's a point in time. So if they're part-time and that just happens to be the time that they're with you and you're doing the survey, then count them. If they're living somewhere else at the time and that person is doing the survey, then they would get counted there.
Okay.
But you do it from at the time, the day that you are doing your survey.
Okay. Well, we're rolling right along. This is pretty good. Okay. What about boarders, renters? What about their kids?
I say it's the same thing. Answer the survey based on your current living situation. The goal is to make sure that everybody gets counted, period. Like, it does not matter where you live, how things are set up. There's even people who, from the Census Bureau, who are coming out and counting individuals who are homeless, who are in the shelters, who are in group quarter situations, senior housing places. Like, everyone is being counted. And the goal was to use these last few months to make sure that if there were relationships that weren't covered already, that we had the chance to build those. And again, now we need everyone to be able to step up and advocate to make sure that there's a fair count that happens here in Chester County, and specifically in Coatesville, because unfortunately it's like a vortex. So all of the need services, everything that's happening, how services get allocated, for the most part, the greatest need is in this Coatesville community, in the area. And unfortunately, because we have townships like Dowling Township or West Callan and some of these other municipalities who have 90% participation rate in the census, they don't need the resources, but they would get them because 90% of their population has completed the survey, compared to the 45% in Coatesville. So when you look, I get the report almost once a week from Joy, who's amazing. Hopefully you probably all have met Joy at some point. The Vornicet, who works for the U.S. Census Bureau. She's assigned to Chester County. But in looking at the numbers, it's incredible. But the richest townships who are here in Chester County are the ones who have counts that are in the high 80% range, 90%, 70, 80%. They don't need the resources like we need the resources. And unfortunately, we're not doing what we need to do yet to make sure we get our fair share.
Well, we're gonna work on that. Shut this down. Well, look, we got Mina Badros. I never knew how to say his last name. It looks like the band is coming back together again.
Yes.
Mina, good to see you. Hey, look now, all we need now, let me see who we need. We need Lindsay Myers, and we need who we just talked about, who's executive director now.
Jarvis. Yeah.
Jarvis don't be on Facebook though.
No, you're not catching him on Facebook. You
No.
have to do a drive-by 545 East Lincoln Highway to see him.
I got to stop by and see him, but whenever I see
Yeah.
him, he always has an idea. It's like, Fonz, man, what do you think about us doing? And I'd be like, I gotta go. All right.
That's why he's the best person in that role.
Yep. Gail Walls, top of the evening to you. It is good to see you, Gail. Let me see what else we got here. The question is my information really confidential?
The answer is yes. It's constitutionally protected. The surveys that come in, at one point, paper surveys went out. Those all end up shredded, and it's just constitutionally protected that your information is not going anywhere.
Okay, so all right, so so why do they ask about the race and ethnicity and all that stuff?
So, according to the Census Bureau, what they do from a genealogical perspective is like after 72 years, they start to track where different ethnicities are shifting and moving in the nation. One of the other things that we've noticed too, just in having some conversation about the census, is if your ethnicity and race are not counted, then it's really hard for you to make and push for changes that you'd like to see in the community. So for example, a few months ago at the city council meeting, before all this, actually it's been longer than that, because we were still allowed to see each other and be in proximity, but there was a group of Liberian men who were looking to create a community center. And one of the challenges that they expressed was there wasn't an accurate representation of the number of Liberian individuals who were living in this community. And so they were pushing and advocating for needs and concerns and wanting to create a center and opportunities and programs. But unfortunately, they didn't show up in the numbers. So it was just such an aha and an opportunity for conversation, just to say, again, we need to make sure that we're counted. We need to make sure that we show up in a real way, so we're part of the narrative and the conversation, but that our needs are heard and understood and valued, because there are numbers to support the data that we're here.
Good stuff. Let me acknowledge a few more people. Cindy Outlaw, good evening. Let's see who else we got here. Okay, we got Vandora Brickers is watching. Claudia T. Palmer, you have been missed. I haven't seen you in a while. And of course, we have City Councilwoman Carmen Green is viewing us. And Carmen, it's good to see you. And we are really getting a lot of information from this young lady here. But I tell you, making my head hurt. Thank God I got all the paperwork. I can read it. But y'all can come back and look at this. Y'all can view this over and over and over again, because this is very important. Now, Nelson, I hope you're still on, because this is all immigration related. Now, this is real important. Okay, I think I'm gonna have some of that too. We're drinking together.
You're gonna make me spit it out.
Okay, the question is, does the census ask about citizenship status?
The census does not ask about citizenship status. Thankfully, there were a number of very incredibly smart lawyers who were able to get that question removed from the survey. So it does not exist on the survey. And ICE and no other federal departments have access to any of the data that is in the survey or submitted. But it is important, again, to make sure that everybody gets counted.
Okay, so what government agencies see the individual's answers?
None.
All right, here's a good one. Are the answers shared with ICE?
No, they are not. It is federally protected and prohibited from any other federal agency seeing that information.
So any of my Latino friends or anybody, immigrants or anything like that, man, take this to heart, man, and be counted, man. Step out of the shadows, at least for them couple of minutes. Fill that thing out. Stop playing. Linda Lavender Norris is on the set. Hey, Linda. Y'all must have had a meeting, because it seems like all the council people coming on at the same time.
It's a blessing. They've been very supportive.
Okay. Will a census taker come to a person's house?
Yes. So where they are right now is for everyone who has email addresses that are somewhat available, you will get an email as the final reminder that you've not completed your census with information for you to go on and do so. If you still do not respond to that email or you don't get it because your email is not available to you, then yes, someone will be coming to your home and knocking on your door and asking you the census questions. They should have a badge that says their name, and that they're a census worker. They should not be asking you for your social security number or any information outside of the questions that are actually on the census, and you have all the right to ask them questions just to verify that they are who they say they are. And they should have masks on, and they should have gloves. And if you are not comfortable, then you can say you're not comfortable. But it is a requirement by the Census Bureau that they are in appropriate protective gear when they come out, and they should start coming out sometime around the week of August 11th.
Okay. And then they'll stop coming out because the expiration time is what, September 30th, is it?
September 30th, yes. So hopefully no more resources get cut, and they'll be out for at least a month, or up until the deadline. But fingers and toes crossed. I just want people to finish it and do it, especially if you're not comfortable with someone coming to your house.
Yeah.
Just make sure that it gets taken care of. It'll take you like 7 minutes to either call the phone number or do it online.
Okay, Nelson said thank you. Hey, Nelson, thank you for sticking around long enough to get this information, man. This is so very important. Wale Gonzalez, how are you this evening? Okay, let's see what Kaya says. Kaya says, is it important to be inclusive of your household?
Yes. Make sure that every person, even if you have an infant, one of the biggest groups that often doesn't get counted are children under the age of 5. They should all be counted, because we, again, miss out on a whole lot of resources. The census funding funds Head Start, special education. It supports the school lunch program. It's our veteran services. It's our healthcare agencies. It's the SNAP benefits. It's our Section 8. It's the roads if you're complaining about the potholes, and I'm sure everybody will be after winter and all that salt's eating up our roads. All that stuff comes from census dollars, so it's incredibly important for us to make sure that we're counted. And just from a civic perspective, if we, with all the stuff going on with Black Lives Matter and social justice and racial justice, and us wanting to make sure that our voices are heard, often we don't make sure that they're heard at the ballot box from voting or participating in the census. And if we want to start shifting and changing systems, then we need to make our voices heard by being counted and seen and shown up and a part of the narrative and being pushed the envelope to make sure that people understand what it is that we are demanding, because we deserve better than what we've been getting.
Man, we could drop the mic on that one, except she ain't got no mic on her, but I'm gonna drop the mic. Boom. That is that. I mean, you said a mouthful. You said a mouthful. Okay, here's the last question.
Mhm.
Now, there's some terminology I'm not sure about.
Uh-huh.
How do I answer if I am transgender? I know what that is. Fluid, don't know what that is. Cisgender, uncertain, or non-binary. I'm not going to make a joke about this, but can you explain who these people are?
Yeah, absolutely. So they are individuals who are identifying with a different gender identity, and sexual orientation. And I think one of the incredible things about the census this year is that it actually acknowledges these individuals and makes sure that they are included and that they count. So when it comes to policy at the local, state, and federal level, there are opportunities for the policies that need to support them being safe and protected in society, at work, in benefits, in how they decide to love and be in union, and whatever the case may be, that they are counted. So this census actually asks, are you in a same-sex relationship? Are you, living in a, like, how do you identify? And it gives very good terminology for you to indicate how you identify and how you show up in the world. And I think it's progressive, it's important, and it makes sure that policy is enacted in a way that has everybody's civil rights reflected, valued, respected, and taken care of. So I'm grateful that ended up in the census, and I'm looking forward to what policy and practice gets enacted now that there are numbers and voices to these individuals who often have been left out and disrespected and disregarded.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to that time. Now I'm telling you, we didn't get something out of this. Y'all must have slept through this whole thing, but I'm gonna play it over and over and over again because I don't think some people heard you, but they're gonna hear you today. Look, I want to thank you, Kai, but there's one more question, but I do want to say this, that I really appreciate you allowing me to just chat with you for this moment in time, because we as a people, we as a community need to really hear this, because we don't understand the importance and how we can be counted for and counted. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, I just can't add nothing to it, so I'm not gonna. But I really appreciate you. But now, let me see what Uriah said. Thank you, Fonz and Kaya. Great info for Coesville. Uriah, you are so absolutely correct. The Mundo. Now, every guest at the end of their show, they must do this. We already asked the faith question because I always ask that. But I want from you parting comments, insights, or advice to those who wish to pursue their own dreams, wish to become involved in community events and affairs, stuff like that. Anything that's on your heart and mind that you think, just whatever on your heart and mind, share with the community.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that was hard and heartbreaking for me when I first moved here to Coatesville was that people had preconceived notions about the talent that exists here and the love that exists here and the family and support and empowerment and all of the amazing things that are 19320. So I just say, if you have gifts and talents and you are sitting on them, it's time to rise up. If you have a voice and ideas and perspective that need to be shared, then you need to show up at community meetings and make sure that those voices and thoughts and ideas are heard. I see so many incredible posts on social media and Facebook with people who have, amazing things to say. And I'm like, well, what other platform does that happen in real life? Like, how can you enroll other people in this idea that collectively we can all bring our time and talents and treasures together to make a difference in our community? And so it's time out for allowing other people to predict who we are and define who we are for whatever reason and agenda they have. Let's make our own definition. Let's step up. Let's show Chester County that Coatesville matters, that we are proud of who we are, that we are proud of the talents that we have, and that we need to stop fighting one another and be in roadblocks and create opportunities where we can link up and make moves.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boy, I tell you, that's like icing on the cake, and I don't even eat sweets, but that's icing on the cake. So now, ladies and gentlemen, look, she just spoke on about talent, skills, and all that. If you have looked at City Town Talk for more than a couple of minutes, for the last 2.5 to 3 months, everybody that's been on this show has a skill or talent. You do not have to look any further. You don't have to go to Downingtown. You don't have to go anywhere. If you look inward at just some of the people that's been on this show, and that's just a small portion of who we have out here. I'm just going to speak on the people that I've had the opportunity to. Look who I just interviewed. And she ain't chopped liver. So what I am saying is, let's just look at ourselves for who we can be. Not where we are today, but where we can be in the future if we invest in ourselves and each other today. We'll get to where we want to go in due time. Hey, look, I got to go because I got to go. Kaya, once again, I'm telling you, you being smart made me look good.
Oh, goodness.
Woo!
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. And if anyone wants to get involved and be a part of this movement for these next couple of months to make sure we're getting the word out, please get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, Chaya, last name is Scott. Find me, please, because we need to make some change happen in a very short period of time.
Good stuff, good stuff. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I got to go because I got to go. I don't eat dinner before I do these shows. So I'm hungry. I'm starving like Marvin. So I'm going to wish you good night, Kaya. To all
Thank
my
you.
viewers out there, I want to say good night to y'all. Don't forget, leave your email address in the comments section because we got to get out the vote. Ain't nobody playing with y'all. And just remember two things right now. That's Coatesville's Rising and Black Lives Matter. Peace out.
Amen.